So that was the event. That was the event. All right, guys, what do you think? First question, iPhone 10. What do you think? Is it good? Is this cool? Do you like it? Is it not enough? Is it overblown, overpriced? What do you think? I'm going to bring the chat window like normal here. We can get back to our normal modus operandi here. And that is the wrong chat. Let me get the right chat up here. And then I will be able to respond to y'all. So here we go. Live room. And loading. We had a good number of people watching this. That was kind of fun. As always, it's only the second time, but now we're proving a pattern here. There are so many people watching this that have no idea that this is a commentary show, and they're telling me to shut up. I find that highly hysterical, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right. Yeah, I saw Ryan had copy and pasted a statement about that and just kept pasting it in every once in a while every time somebody complained. That is pretty funny. All right. Let's see here. Gareth is asking me if we're going to have a fair and balanced conversation. Well, we can certainly try. Let's see, let me resize things here a little bit because this is not my normal setup. So let's see here. Yeah, and again, if you want to comment, you want me to grab your comment, do type @PhotoJoseph in front of it. That will bring it up to my attention. There are still over almost 300 people in the chat room right now. So things might go flying by. And if you don't put @PhotoJoseph, I'm definitely not going to see it. So please do that. And we'll start up here. Martin says, we're not bashing, purely being honest and not blinkered. I know you like Apple, but keep an open mind. So I do have an open mind. I'm not a total fanatic. I do love their gear, absolutely, and I work there, like I said in the beginning. Hey, I drank the Kool-Aid. I admit the bias there. But I was looking at the comments. There are some pretty nasty comments in here going past. So that's what I was referring to, those who are just here to bash. That is always that. So, and Martin says, Apple do some good stuff, but the phones are purely catching up at the moment. I think it's one of those things where you've got some tech that's catching up and some that's ahead. So they're not the first to do face technology, right? Face recognition, but was it Samsung? I don't remember who's done it, but the face tech that's out there from, I am like you guys. I'm listening to podcasts, reading tech news. I don't own every piece of gear. I don't test every piece of gear. But from what I understood, the face tech that came out in the first phone was super easy to hack, right? They broke it immediately just with a picture, and then they updated the firmware, and then they broke it again by taking a picture and wrapping it around a balloon. So what Apple's done in Face ID, no, it is not the first Face ID that's on a phone, but with 1,000,000 to 1, 1 in a million opportunity, 1 in a million chance of it recognizing somebody else's face, the 30,000 dots projected on the face, that's pretty damn high tech, and I don't think that anybody else is doing that. Now, by all means, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if some other phone manufacturer is doing something like that, but I don't think they are. That is the first that I've heard of that level of Face ID, especially since the first one was hacked with a simple picture. This is definitely a whole league beyond that. Now, edge to edge, the bezel-less phone, clearly not new. That has been out now for a few months or half a year or whatever. Some other phones have had that. Stream status has dropped. You know what? I'll bet, Ryan, the backup kicked on again in there, because it's been a couple of hours. So anyway, let's keep going to the comments and see a bunch coming through here. Just missed, the presentation seemed kind of low key. Well, I think ever since we no longer have Steve leading it, it does have a different vibe to it. And I think that Tim has really found his pacing. This is now Tim's show. It used to be that it was nobody's show, right? It was Steve's show when it was Steve. When Steve died, it was nobody's show. It was hard to really see who was bringing the energy along in that show. Steve owned the room. There's no denying that. He owned the room. It took Tim a while to find his pacing, to find his kind of place in this culture, if you will. But I think he's found it. It's a different Apple than it was. It's a different presentation, different theater than it was. But I think that Tim's doing a great job. And honestly, you watch most tech presentations and they're totally honors compared to this. So I think Tim did a great job. I'll give him that. There's one person on there who was a little flustered on there, but whoever was giving him grief, live is hard. Live is really, really hard, especially when you got thousands of people staring at you. My biggest presentation, I did a demo on stage at an Apple Expo keynote in Paris, France. This is probably 2005 or 6 or something like that. I do a lot. I have done a lot of live presentations, a lot of theater presentations, stood in front of a lot of people many, many times. That was the one time I walked out on stage and nearly lost it. It's like, it took me a couple seconds to get started with my demo. I was demoing motion. Tells you how long ago it was. That was a huge audience, and that was tough. It is hard to stand there and talk to all those people, especially when you got someone like Phil Schiller or Steve Jobs standing off on the side looking at you. It ain't easy. Just saying. All right. Grant Matthews, the X is a good leap. I keep saying X. The 10 is a good leap, pretty much expected due to leaks. Yep, expected due to leaks. Price is right. Gareth saying missing USB-C is the biggest flaw. I think, yeah, I'm actually surprised it's not USB-C. I would have thought that the 10 would have been the one to say, all right, we're making the switch over. We're making the switch to USB-C. It has to happen. I think that's a fair thing to say. It has to happen. And I would have expected it to happen there. So I'm actually really surprised about that. I wonder why they didn't. Frizzy's saying, is the iPhone 10 the same as the 8 Plus? If I was reading all the specs right that flew by, the screen is larger, but the phone is physically smaller because you get rid of the bezel and you've got some more room to grow there. So bigger screen, smaller physical size, which I think is pretty awesome. Avia Rob says, what are your thoughts about the N-emoji? I think they're cute and adorable and fun, and, I will clearly use them when talking to my wife and talking to my kids because it's fun. And, yeah, it's goofy, and I was a little surprised that they almost led with that out of the Face ID. But, yeah, it is one of the few big separation features. But it's cute. It's not a huge deal. It's not like, oh, it's going to change the world or anything, but it's cute and it's fun. And anytime you can have fun with your device, why not, right? There's nothing wrong with it. I think it's a good time. It's fun stuff. Let's see here. Sean B says $100 is a lot for a cell phone. Yep, but these are definitely times we're living in. The technology in the iPhone 10 is extraordinary. I agree, Sean, and it is a lot of money. And I saw some comment earlier that said, when are they going to start making phones that we can afford? The least expensive phone on there was, $350 for the iPhone SE? And the iPhone SE is a great phone. That's what my wife uses right now because she likes the smaller form factor. $350, that's retail. This is not a subsidized price. I think that's remarkable, right, considering the tech that's in there. And yes, it's a flagship phone. Of course, you're going to pay a flagship price. Maybe you're even overpaying. Maybe you are. I don't know. But there is a price for that highest echelon. That's just always the case. The highest end car, the highest end everything is always going to have a premium price to it. If you can afford it, great. If you can't, there are plenty of other options. It is a remarkable piece of tech that you are going to use all day long. It's how many times do you use your phones? Like I said in the beginning, I don't know how many of you were here in the beginning for the pre-show, but how many times do you use your phone per day? Think about that. And think about, even if you only have it for a year before you sell it off. Let's say you spend $1,000 on a phone. You sell it off in a year, you sell it for half that price, you sell it for $500. So you spent $500 for the year. How many times a day do you use your phone? 20, 30, 40? What would you say? I would say, God, I wish that stat was in there. That would be really interesting. What do you think, Ryan? Is 40 a good guess? 50? You guys tell me. What do you think? I'm going to look at another comment screen here. I'm going to go with 50. And that's probably low for some, high for others. So you spent $500 on the phone, right? Because you're going to sell it. Divide that by 365 days in the year. Divide that by 50 times a day. That is just under 3 cents per use. Not too shabby if you're using it 50 times a day. There you go. That's my spiel on the price. And I definitely use it more than 50 times a day. All right, Jess saying, I'm not sure they made it sound as exciting as it could have been. I would like one, but kind of okay with the phone I have. I still love my iPhone 7 Plus. It's a fantastic phone. The 8 has really great new features. I'm actually surprised they put the inductive charging in the 8. I would have thought that would have been held out for the 10, but great. I think the 8 is going to be a fantastic upgrade. If you've got a 7, should you go to the 8 or the 10? I mean, I think you'd go for the 10, but if it's not in your budget and you really want to upgrade, the 8's a great phone. No question about it. Talman Murphy says, iPhone 10 looks great. They've done the things they do right away. It'll move phones ahead into the future. Definitely a great event in my opinion. Okay, so I'm going to take this chance to be a little bit critical because everybody's saying, am I going to be fair and balanced? Tim opened it by saying this is the biggest leap forward. This is setting the defining factor for the future for the phones. Okay, so by that point, we can expect bezel. Every iPhone in the future will be bezel-less. Okay, great, that's fine. Every phone will have Face ID. I mean, that's kind of to be expected. Is it that huge of a leap forward from the iPhone 7 and 8? I did see some comments earlier about it's not that different than the 8, right? It's got, obviously, the bigger bezel-less screen. It is a higher resolution screen. It's a better quality screen. So those are physical improvements that are better. The camera is marginally better than the 8. It's not a huge improvement over the 8. What else is new? What else is different? I don't see that many huge things. Clearly, the physical form factor of it, bigger screen, smaller body, is the biggest step forward on that. And I guess that's, to be fair, that's what he's saying when he says this defines the future for the phones. It is really all about that bezel-less, smaller form factor, bigger screen. But I'm curious to see what you guys think, and I'll get to whatever it is you think later because I've got a long way to go through this list. Frank Levis says, delayed upgrading of my 6 Plus to see what is coming. Should I go 7 Plus or 8? Well, I certainly would go for 8 or above. Frank, I don't remember what the prices were for the 7. The 7's still a fantastic phone, but your 6 to 7, every year the upgrade is marginal, right? It's obviously, how much can you do in a year? I think the upgrade to the 7 from the 6 was great. If you own a 6 now and you go to the 7, it'll be a better phone. I don't think you're going to be doing backflips other than for the dual camera. That's the one, so cool. I love that dual camera. It's so cool. If you have a 6 now, I would say go for the 8 unless you are thinking about the 10 and you can afford that. Then why not go for the 10? Artem Fitoskin says, honestly, I can't understand why Apple made the iPhone 8. It's not that different from the 7. Now it has a competitor within the iPhone family, namely the iPhone 10. I disagree. The 8 is not that close to the 7. You've got the whole augmented reality thing. Right now, it looks like a fun little toy, but augmented reality, AR, is going to be huge. There is no question about this. AR is going to be absolutely massive, and this is the first phone that supports that. So I would say it is a huge, just for that alone, it's a huge upgrade. Everything else is marginal improvements. I think, was there anything really, really big? I think so. But the AR is huge. That's an enormous one. So that's going to be your biggest upgrade right there from what I'm recalling. I will have to go back and look at the specs. Obviously, I just saw the same show that you did, so it's not like I had any time to prepare for this. Stuart says, I hope you noticed you had nearly 1,000 viewers. I did know that. I did see that. We had nearly 1,000 people watching at one time. That was pretty awesome. I'll enjoy that. If anyone's buffering, if you're buffering, refresh your screen. Oops, scrolled off. Darn it. I hate it when it does that. There we go. Just Simply Brandon says, I like the iPhone 10. It would be a huge jump from my iPhone 5S. Yes, I would say so. I've been saving for the iPhone 10, which I did predict will cost over $1,000, especially if you go for the 256 gig. Yeah, and I would say it's worth getting the bigger one. On my 7, what did I get? I think I got the 256 on this, on my 7 Plus. And it is great. Every phone that I've had before this, I have run out of space, and it's annoying as hell. And the iCloud photo library, where it's supposed to automatically, get rid of the old photos, that works well until you want to put a lot of stuff on at once. That's when that really runs into being a problem. But what is this? I think it's 256 somewhere in your capacity. Oh no, 128. I only have the 128. So 128 I've been fine with. I have not once run out of space on this phone. So that's good. I wonder if the 10, if I'd go for the 256 or just go for the 128. Good question. Good question. Yeah, we'll have to see what the prices are for the big ones. Usually it's another $100 per increment up, right? So how many were there for the 10? Just 2, right? So it should be $9.99 and $10.99? Probably. Stuart says, with the camera bump, it won't lie flat. Would annoy me to no end. That is annoying. That is absolutely annoying. Here, let me just kind of do this. Let's do a little closely up here because I can do this. Let's put this thing in view. Where is it? Where's my camera? I'm trying to find this camera in this camera view. Okay, so this is the 7 Plus. It has the, here, if you've never seen this up close before, although I'm sure you have. Sorry, let me find the right position here. There you can see the little bump on the camera, and it does this. That is annoying. No question about it. That does bug the crap out of me. But you get used to it. I don't know. One of the things, too, because it protrudes or not, a habit that I've gotten into every time I take a picture is I always wipe that lens off because it's always getting fingerprints on it. I always do that. But there you go. Anyway, yeah, the bump is annoying. But there's clearly a reason for it. They wouldn't put it there just for fun. And I don't know, okay, here's a question. Would you rather have that bump there and have the overall thinness reduced? Or would you rather make the whole thing that thickness, so add, what is that, probably not even 2 millimeters, probably like 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters maybe, and use that extra space for extra battery? I might argue that might be a better way to go. I would possibly be okay with having a slightly heavier, slightly thicker phone with a battery that lasts all day for reals and not all day when you're not actually using it. Just Simply Brandon says the iPhone 10 is now in the Apple Store. No, he said the pre-order wasn't starting until October 27th, I believe it was. So I'm sure it's showing, but you can't pre-order it, right? Well, let's just check here. I can't do it on that screen. I don't have that one to share. Let's just see what the Apple Store looks like today. Let's see here. Apple.com. Just go there. Let's just see what's on the home page right now. Let's go ahead and take a quick little looky look. iPhone 10, iPhone 8, beautiful. 4K TV. Ooh, I am excited about that. Oh, of course, like I said, I don't know if you heard me. My TV at home is 720p. I have an old Panasonic plasma screen that I bought in 2005, maybe. It's a 55-inch. That thing cost me so much stupid money. 55-inch, or is it 50? 50 or 55-inch plasma screen, 720p, and it is still gorgeous. Love that. Just love that screen. It's going to be a sad day when that thing dies. All right, back to here, back to the store. Let's, where's the store? How do you get to the store? Oh, right, they don't have a separate store now. You actually have to go into it and then say buy. Ooh, 10, okay. Watch keynote, watch the film. It's all screen. Okay, we're not going to go through that. Let's see, what if I go to store.apple.com? Will that, oops, not Camo, store.apple. Let's try that again. Store.apple.com. No, it just takes us there. So, I don't know, whoever's saying that it's in the store already, I don't know what you're looking at, but I don't know. Okay, am I going to get the 10? Obviously. Please, I have to have something to show you guys. I will get it so that I can show it to you. And that's the excuse I can tell my wife. No, I will get the 10. It's just part of this. I think it makes sense. iPhone has always been the highest priced cell phone. Yeah. Mercedes sells a high-priced car. Still sell millions of them. Frizzy Frank, I got a Note 8 a week ago, and my wife is thinking of getting the iPhone 10. What, in your opinion, are the pros and cons comparing both amazing phones? I don't have a Note 8. I've never been an Android user. I've seen some very, very positive reviews in the Note 8. It seems like a fantastic phone. For what little I've used Android operating system, I don't like it. But then again, I am so ingrained in iOS. I've been using it for so long that it's just second nature to me. When I start using Android, I'm just like, I don't know what to do. But obviously, if I used it for a while, I'm sure I'd get used to it. I think there are, and there will always be, advantages of one over the other. The iPhone 10 is going to do things the Note 8 doesn't do, and vice versa. That's just normal. I think that is to be expected. I saw comments saying this earlier, people like, oh, this is stupid. It's just like the Note 8, but less, or whatever. Every device is going to have advantages over another. We are not in an era where any company is going to come out with something that is light years beyond everything else, and there's a clear, this is the best on every data point. It's just not going to happen. I think that there's so much tech out there. Tech is moving so fast that it's just, you can't expect that. It's not realistic. So you find the one that works for you. I will buy the iPhone over a Note because I'm an iOS user. I'm completely ingrained into the ecosystem between iOS and macOS. I've got Macs and Apple TV and all that everywhere. But I also use Google for Mail. I use Google Calendars. Excuse me. I use a lot of Google tech, not Android tech, but the stuff that's native to Android. And it all works together beautifully. And sure, there might be features on the Note that I wish I had. I don't know what they might be because I'm not familiar enough with the phone. But there's no doubt it's a great phone. I would say, how does it integrate into everything else that you're doing? You just make the choice that way. And let's see. Shoot, scrolled off again. Frank Levis says, delayed upgrade of my 6 Plus to see what is coming. Should I go 7 or 8, 7 Plus or 8? I think you already asked that question, Frank. I think I already addressed that. Either that or I'm scrolling around in an insane way. Excuse me. Just Simply Brandon says, I was hoping the iPhone 10 will offer 512 gigs of storage. I think it does, right? Isn't that what they said? It's got to be. Can we get to any details? Let's go take a look. Let's look at the Apple page on the iPhone 10. Scrolling. Let's see, are there any... Oh, tech specs. Here we go. Let's go to the tech specs. Oh, models and pricing. That makes it even easier. Yeah, $256. Oh, okay, so it's not going to be $100 up. It's going to be more because it goes from 64 to 256. Compare the iPhone models. Wait, it said tech and pricing. Model carrier, finish, capacity. Let's look at that. Nope, I guess we scroll. Pre-order starting... So maybe we can't see the pricing yet. Interesting. Well, I am going to assume that it is a higher cost more than $100 difference, because if it went from 64 to 256, that's probably going to be a $200 price jump. So $9.99 and $11.99 would be my guess on there. Alrighty, back to the comments. JDiggity, people who worry about paying the price can also have the option of splitting up payment into monthly payments. Of course you can. Or look, don't buy the phone if you can't afford it. Don't buy anything you can't afford. Just don't. Okay? Just don't. There are more important places to spend your money. Save your money. If you don't have the money to spend, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. It's simple. You don't need it, right? Can we say that? Good. We got that out of the way. I hate to hear people stretching themselves beyond their means to buy a phone that they don't need, or a phone just because it's the latest and greatest. Don't do that. Tyler Printerod says, to me, the biggest difference between the 10 and the 8 is the screen, HDR, and higher pixels. Oh, right, HDR. Thank you for reminding me of that. That's awesome. Now, here's a good question. So they talked about a couple of different HDR specs that it supports. The GH5 is shooting HLG, hybrid log gamma. I am not fully understanding. I know there's, I think, 3 different HDR specs. I don't know if that's all compatible or how that works, but that's pretty cool. And that means that you'll be able to watch, I would assume, that you'll be able to watch YouTube HDR videos natively on your phone in HDR. That's pretty cool. They didn't say, when they were talking about, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think when they're talking about the Apple TV 4K with the HDR, amazing, if they said they have HDR with, obviously, with Apple movies, and with Netflix, they said, did they say YouTube? Because YouTube is a biggie, right? Then that's really cool, especially as creatives to be able to take your GH5 with version 2 firmware and shoot something in HLG and upload that to YouTube and see it in HDR, but you have to have an HDR screen to see that, obviously. So I wonder if YouTube is going to have HDR on there. They've got it. I mean, they have to, right? Why would they not? It just makes sense. Okay. Where were we? So Tyler, sorry, also said, the form factor is cool, but I'm still not sold on the 10 over the 8. What do you think about the little cutout in the screen? So that's something that the Essential phone has, which I thought was weird when I saw it. And I saw an MKBHD video he's talking about it. He said you just kind of forget about it. It goes away after a while. But when Phil or whoever it was showed the movies and they went sideways and suddenly a piece of your movie's cut out, I don't like that. I really don't. I actually want it to shrink down. Maybe there's probably a mode for it, because it was full screen. It was cutting off the corners, right? Because the corners around it, and it cut out that divot in there. That's a piece of the film. I don't want that cut out. I don't want that shadow on the side of my movie. Probably you can just like double tap it and it'll shrink down to maximum size with full corners and full view. That's what I would guess. I hope so, because I don't like that little divot in there. That's kind of weird. That is kind of weird. Adam Rickman says, I remember using AR about 3 years ago and making mapping in hallways on the 4S that I had. No one seemed to care back then, so now I'm going to have to try and remember. It's, I mean, clearly a technology without any applications is pointless, right? There's new tech coming all the time that people go, that sounds like really cool tech. What am I going to do with that? AR is that thing. Right now, the use cases of it are way down here. There's hardly anything done with it yet because it's not in the vast majority of the public's hands. The iPhone 8 will be the first device, consumer device, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but first readily available, widely spread consumer device with AR built in natively that just does the AR thing. And so suddenly you're going to have so many people coming out with really cool things that you can do. That, like I said when I was talking over the keynote, they showed the baseball game, and to see the stats over the players, are you kidding me? That's unbelievably cool. I don't care at all about baseball. That is like I just don't. But I would almost I think that is freaking cool. And that is the beginning. That's what's here before the phone is even released. Gaming, great. I'm sure it's going to be really fun. I'm not a gamer, so I'm not that interested in it. I'm sure I'll play with it a couple times and go, okay, yeah, that was neat. Having a game happening on your tabletop and monsters dancing around, that would be really neat if you're like with your kid and I could see that being fun and interactive for sure. But the gaming isn't what interests me. It's things like that baseball integration. I'm really excited to see what developers do with it. I think that's where this is going to be really, really cool. Talman Murphy says, Talman Murphy was saying, and then it scrolled off screen. Where is this? Where'd it go? I had it. Good grief. There it is. Talman Murphy says, is this thin of an iPhone, no bump, no good camera? In this thin of an iPhone, no bump, no good. I'm not quite sure what you're asking me, Talman. I think that to get the camera tech to where it is, you have to have the bump or just make the whole phone thicker. They've decided to to do it. Via Rob, you just said, well, maybe this is an old, what's your thought on the emoji? Please don't ignore me again. First of all, you have to @PhotoJoseph and spell it right so that it shows up in red. Second, I already answered that. Third, please don't be rude to me. I am fielding a lot of questions here. Mike Mass, Tyler, here we go. Tyler says, oh, heck yeah, I'd take the thicker phone with the better battery. So now we're catching up with the questions I asked earlier. Martin Pitt, are Apple still sourcing the cameras from Sony? I have absolutely no idea, and I don't think they would admit it if they were. I kind of doubt it. They tend to do a lot of stuff in-house. Sean Mark Nipper, click on the iPhone 10 on apple.com, and it opens up the specs and pricing. Oh, okay. iPhone 10, let's go back to the computer. Let's go back there and click on the iPhone 10. Well, that's where I was. Okay. So it's that, and I had the specs, saw the specs, we had the specs. So here's everything, if you guys want to see this. Size and weight, it's not comparing, so without a side-by-side, it's hard to compare. 5.8-inch display, so slightly bigger, right? 5.5 is what the 7 Plus is. Yeah, you guys can go through the tech specs on your own time. We don't need to go through all that right now. But overall, I think it's cool. Frizzy Frank says, third and final question, how can I get my beard like yours? Patience. Actually, you know what? Okay, I gotta give a shout out to these guys. This is funny. Here we go. I don't know why we're talking beards here, but I buy my products from these guys, the Beard Club. They make a great product and even better marketing videos. If you guys remember, I'm sure everybody remembers the Dollar Shave Club commercials. They were fantastic. Dollar Beard Club, it used to be called Dollar Beard Club, now it's just called the Beard Club. Did the exact, I mean, it was a total ripoff of the format, but man, they're good videos. They are so much fun. They totally sold me. I'm like, all right, I got it. Yeah. So I get their stuff. So there you go. That's where the beard comes in. But thank you. That's a very nice question. Let's go back. We are in the comments. Sean Robinson, question is the AR thing really just a gimmick or will it stick? Sean, I do believe it will stick. I really do. I think once we start seeing true uses of it beyond just gaming and fun, I think we're going to see some really, really interesting applications of it. You know, we've already seen some very basic use of it. Things like, have you ever used Google Translate on your phone, where you set it into a real-time translation, you hold your phone up to a road sign or a menu or anything, and on your phone in real time, it's translating what you're seeing. It's one of those I'm living in the future moments. And that's with older phone tech without true AR kit. I think that we're going to see stuff like that and way beyond that. I'm convinced AR is not here to stay. The AR is the future of all the virtual reality, fun, exciting, but until we can get onto the holodeck, like in Star Trek, virtual reality is just not that interesting. AR, though, I think is going to be absolutely huge. AR through your phone is a stepping stone, right? This is obviously annoying to have to hold up my phone to see the AR. We will get to a point where it will be built into glasses, and then we'll get to a point where it's built into contact lenses. This will come. This is not a question of if, but when. So if you get true AR on glasses and eventually true AR in your contact lenses, you can control the interface from your phone or whatever devices we're all carrying around by then. That's where things get really interesting, when you can see someone's name floating over their head. Someone walks up to you at a party and you're like, oh, the hell are they? And it pops up and says, oh, that's Sean. Okay, hey, Sean, get right. It's coming. It's coming. Privacy concerns aside, it's coming. So AR is huge. Jay Diggity, I wonder if the AR will work while watching a sporting event on TV. That's interesting. No, because I don't think so, because AR, part of it requires depth perception. Obviously, when it's looking at TV, it's going to be flat. And besides, they could just integrate that into the TV stream. But yeah, I don't think so. I think you need real world. You need depth for AR to do what AR does. Sean says, I think Apple will give it the best shot for sure, but AR I think is still way too limited for mass support unless Apple partner with Google for mass information they both have. So interesting point, and would like to see a collab like that. Here's an interesting thing, right? The privacy, the handling of privacy, the handling of data between Google and Apple are fundamentally different. And this is one of the reasons that Google arguably can have a cooler, better, more immersive experience, because they are willing to allow that data out there. Whereas Apple is so private and so closed-wall in that they don't want your data to get out. They're much more protective. And there are certain things, I mean, think about just today, what's the assistant called on Android? Whatever it's called, I guess Google Assistant, right? Where it knows things like your upcoming flights, and it can tell you to leave for the airport because there's traffic and you've got a flight in 2 hours, but It's going to take you longer than you think to get there. That type of experience is, I think, an amazing thing, and I love it. And we don't get that on Apple because of the walls between the apps, and it doesn't allow that data to flow freely. And I think Apple still has some room to grow here. I think that it still has the ability, it just needs to figure out how, it has the ability to allow more data sharing, user-defined, user-selectable, absolutely, without going too far to where you feel like everything is out there. All of your data is out there and you have no privacy anymore. Apple is erring on the side of privacy, perhaps overcautiously, but I would rather be overcautious than undercautious and have too much of my personal data just out there. That's my take on it. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think, but I think there's a balance between it. I really do. And yeah, I mean, a partnership between them would be fantastic, but they would have to come to some kind of an agreement on how that would work. Yeah, it's a big step. And no doubt, it's a big step. Frank Levis says, I'm selling my Nikon V3 and now using iPhone camera for travel photos and D800 for other photography. iPhone 7 Plus or 8, your views, please. Frank, I'm sure I've answered this at least twice now. The 8, obviously the best camera is in the 8 over the 7, so get the 8. Sean says, but at what point would Apple need to lax those restrictions to take full advantage without a purchase of information of a company like Google? Yeah, it's like I said. I think that they just need to have a come to Jesus on that. They need to figure out how to lighten things up, give the user control, so the user still feels like they are in control of their own data. I think the biggest problem isn't that your data gets shared; it's that it gets shared without you knowing. Or you just agree to some dialogue that comes up and then don't realize that you just agreed to some massive amount of sharing of your data. And you're going, hold on a second, I didn't agree to this. It needs to be really, really clear. And having a 20-page long EULA that you agree to that you didn't read is ludicrous. So it's a difficult nut to crack. It's something that people do need to figure out. They do need to figure this out. And I would say Apple's the company to do it. I think it'll take time. We're going to have to wait through this process. But I think that Apple's the company to do it. I think that Google and Facebook are a little bit too, especially Facebook, a little bit too free with your information and too easily, they get you to agree to things that you don't realize you're agreeing to, and then off your data goes. So I'm quite happy with Apple on the way that's being handled. I am. All righty. So which one would be better for daily usage? Until I get them in my hands, I don't know, but I'm not going to buy both. I'll tell you that much. So I will get the 10. I will have that one. Hopefully I'll get it delivered on the day of. I will certainly be ordering it at midnight when it goes on sale, and hopefully I will get one and I will do a show then. But of course that is in November, so we got some time to wait. All right, guys, that has got to go on record as the longest show ever. I hope you enjoyed the afterword bit. That was fun. All right, last question, then I'm going to jump out of the chat. Brad Edwards says, do you think the face detection is a good upgrade or just a new selling point? I think it's a very good upgrade. It seemed fingerprint was working just fine, and efficient fingerprint worked very well. It was not flawless. You could not use it with wet fingers. You could not use it if you were wearing gloves. I use my phone in the kitchen all the time. Any of you who follow me on Instagram know that I like to cook. I'm almost always wearing rubber gloves when I cook, or got my hands covered in some kind of something, which means I can't use Touch ID. So what I end up doing is I have to tap in the passcode on my phone, which I have a very, very long passcode because I have Touch ID. I figured that the actual touching to entry one may as well be complicated, which means every time I'm cooking and I want to get into my phone, I got to and do the phone. Annoying. Do the passcode. Annoying. Being able to do this when my hands are covered in oil or chicken fat or whatever it is, that to me is huge. The phone's waterproof, so I can just wash it after I cook. I am a fan of Face ID for that reason alone. Plus the added security, 1 in a million versus 1 in 50,000. I thought 1 in 50,000 was like, whoa, I would have thought it was better than that. But given that fingerprints are supposed to be unique. But anyway, so that's great, higher security that way. And for someone who said, I saw in the comments earlier in the chat, someone was saying, well, now the FBI only has to force you to open your eyes and hold the phone in front of you and it'll unlock it. One of the new features in iOS 11, and I haven't played with it yet, but I remember this from I guess the last keynote, is you will have a very easy, instant way to disable Touch ID and now, of course, Face ID. So if you recall, let me take these comments off here. We're not going to go back to the comments anymore. You may recall, I think, where did I say that? Oh, maybe this is a Facebook conversation I had privately, just like, so you guys would have seen this. But a friend of mine is an immigration attorney, and I had posted a thing on Facebook asking about legalities of immigration at the airport, forcing you to open your phone. And as I understand it, I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand the law, you can be compelled to unlock your phone with Touch ID, which would mean you could also be compelled to unlock your phone with Face ID, because that is physical evidence. However, you cannot be compelled to give up your password. That is protected by law. You cannot be forced to give up your password. So when you go through airport security, you land in the United States or any country, you're going to go through airport security, and you're worried about them doing that, right? So at first as well, okay, so you can disable Touch ID, kind of a pain to go in there, disable, and you got to retrain it. Oh, that sucks. But then I realized, oh, hold on a second. All you have to do is turn your phone off, right? Just turn your phone off and it locks. And then when you turn it back on, you remember that when you first turn your phone on, you have to enter the ID, the numerical ID or key, alphanumeric ID. You can't just unlock it with your fingerprint. So that's your solution. Going through immigration or anywhere you're worried, just turn off the phone, and then when it comes back on, it will require that. Okay, great. But now this with iOS 11 will allow you to disable that instantly. So I don't know how it's done, so whatever the thing is, but you do it, you hit it, and now you don't have to power off your phone, but now Touch ID and Face ID will be locked out, so you have to enter the alphanumeric keyboard password. So that is how that is. So I've got one more thing for you. Hey, look, I got one more thing. Because I'm going to pull this off the charger. We're going to find out if this thing still works. Here we go. It does. Look what I got here. I got the original iPhone. Look at this thing. This is so much fun. There we go. The original iPhone, and it still works. My kid was using this years ago. There's a picture of some crazy animal on there. I hope he doesn't have a password on there. Oh, good. This phone, original iPhone, still works. Got this beautiful sticker skin on the back. I like that sticker skin. Look at this thing next to the 7 Plus. Look at that thing. Look at the difference there. Look at the difference in thickness. How far have we come? Pretty cool. It's kind of fun to still have this thing laying around. And it's amazing that it still works. That is pretty cool in there. So there you go. That was my last little treat for you. I didn't know if it was going to power on or not, but I put it on the charger and it worked. Super cool. All right, you guys. Hey, tomorrow's photo moment is going to be the first podcast style. We are going to be talking about news events that will then be dropped into a podcast feed as audio only. We're not going to have a guest for tomorrow. Eventually, I'd like to have guests on the show for the podcast version, but this is going to be a slightly different format, but it'll be the same time as always, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. We'll do the live show. For those of you who are watching who aren't familiar with this show, I do every single weekday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific a show called PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment. It is usually anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour-long show talking about photography, tech, techniques, and so on. Photo and video. Also a lot of live streaming because obviously this is what this is, and so that tends to come up quite a bit. But it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that little bell on there so that people know that there is a new show. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Let me just throw up, just because I can. I've got your attention here. Let me just remind you of some of the things that I've got that I do outside of this live show. I have this entire GH5 training course called gh5training.com or at gh5training.com. It is a 5.5-hour comprehensive in-depth training on the Panasonic LUMIX GH5. If you're a GH5 shooter, you need this training. Go check it out. You owe it to yourself to do that. Also, we kicked off a contest. If you go to photojoseph.com/contest, let me find a browser window and I can bring this to you. But just go to photojoseph.com/contest and you will see what it is. And the winners, we will be picking, that's interesting, 10 winners. This many, 10 winners, and the winners will get either a copy of the GH5 training or a full year access to paid membership access to the PhotoOps.expert website, which is my other project. So please do enter that contest, photojoseph.com/contest. It'll take you right there. You can see there's 12 days left. We just started this thing, so we still got a ways to go on that. But enter, and you can win some cool stuff. Whew. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. I got to go get some water and lunch and probably take a nap. This was exhausting. See you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.